Welcome to the Farm to School podcast, where you will hear stories of how youth thrive and farmers prosper when we learn how to grow, cook, and eat delicious, nutritious local foods in schools across the country
and the world. We're your hosts. I'm Rick Sherman.
And I'm Michelle Markestein, and we're so excited to welcome Julie Burton. Hi, Julie.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here with you today.
Oh, thank you. Julie is administrator of Farm Lab in California. And Julie, what is Farm Lab?
And where in California? That's a big state, Michelle.
Oh, true. Okay.
It is a very big state. We are actually coastal Southern California, so it's 70 and sunny right now, of course. We love where we live, and it actually provides an amazing climate for year-round growing for farm to school.
And you're in Encinitas, near San Diego?
Encinitas, California. Yeah, okay. So we're North San Diego County. Okay. Correct. Nice. It's a beach town, little beach community, which is really exciting.
Let's go there. I could use some beach time.
You should come visit.
I could use some 70s.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's lovely. I'm headed to the beach after this.
Oh, that's great. Wow. But what is happening at Farm Lab? I just love the name. And what are you doing?
Yeah, what is it?
What is it? Farm Lab is a huge project that is owned and operated by a public school district, which makes us really unique. And it's a 10-acre property that houses two main components. We have a regenerative organic production farm that grows specifically for the Farm to School program. And then we also have the district satellite sustainability campus that serves all 4,800 kindergarten through grade 6 students in our district annually.
No one can see this, but Rick's mouth, like his whole mouth is open, his jaw fell open.
I want everyone to back up a second. Did you hear what Julie said? It's a 10-acre production farm owned by the school district. That's so rare these days, and that's our goal. Like every school district should have their own farm and farm to school program. How did that happen at your place? How did that come to be?
So that is a great question, and very quick, want to clarify, we're a 10-acre property. We're only growing on about 2.1 acres because we're using it for other purposes. So just want to clarify, we are not farming 10 acres. Whew, that would be big. But how we got this 10-acre property, there was a huge housing development built out, and the district, it was built into the agreement with the city that they had to provide 10 acres of land to the school district in the event that the addition of all those houses warranted another school be built. The price point of those houses was very high, so it did not serve new families with kindergarten through 6th grade students. So the lot sat empty, and it really was a vacant dirt lot that was used for overflow parking by the San Diego Botanic Garden that is across the street. So it was just a dirt lot, but it was in a beautiful agricultural community, again, across from the Botanic Garden. And it got to a point where if the school district did not start using it for educational purposes, they were going to be taxed so heavily that they would have to sell the piece of property. Wow. So our former superintendent was very green-minded, very innovative. We had started dabbling with farm to school on a small scale out of raised beds at one of the school sites that has a 1-acre farm. He knew he wanted to scale up our farm to school work, and also knew consistent environmental education was needed. One of our pillars was environmental stewardship and health and wellness. So a property that integrated farm to school and environmental education was a win. So that was kind of the birthplace of the idea for Farm Lab. They broke ground in 2015, and it was a lot of iterations. I will say they started trying farming on their own, then were asking neighboring farms for help because the initial director had school garden experience, but running a permanent bed farm is a whole different ball game.
Yep.
So there were just iterations of how are we doing the education? Is it going to be a farm field trip, or is it going to be science instruction? So that was the birthplace. I don't know how much history you want me to get into before I say like what we're actually doing now out there 10 years later.
A couple follow-up questions with that. And you said it was 2.5 acres of growing space, but still on your website, it says you create 10,000 pounds of produce a year, I'm assuming. That's mind-boggling. That's really cool. And it's organic certified. So many questions like, 10,000 pounds is great. Where does all that food go? What do you do with it? Why organic? Is it an expensive process to be certified? Why should a school property think about doing that? So there's a lot in there you can unpack, but go ahead.
There is a lot to unpack.
There you go.
So I will share, I mean, despite the kind of rough start of trying to figure out how to do what we're doing now, we were the first school district in the nation that owned its own certified organic farm. So our first organic certification was through CCOF. Mm-hmm. And that was important if we wanted the food to go into the central kitchen. It made it a lot easier for her to be able to use our produce when we were certified organic. You asked me so many questions, Rick.
Well, 10,000 pounds. Yeah, that was.
Oh, yeah. So, and that is a minimum annually. So I always like to undersell and over deliver.
Okay.
Our max for 1 year was 24,000 pounds, but we had a lot of melon and squash because we tried different things over the year to figure out what works. Heavy things.
Yeah.
So, but minimum of 10,000 pounds. And what we have figured out, unlike most farms that just grow seasonally and whatever they grow, they sell, we are beholden to the needs of our central kitchen because we are solely growing all of that produce for the central kitchen in the school district. Everything we grow ends up on school salad bars that are daily fresh school salad bars or in scratch-made lunch items. So what we have found, we can grow year-round, or during the school year, I should say, all the lettuce and carrots that she needs, which is 5 to 6 crates of lettuce a week and 3 to 5 crates of carrots. So we have created a crop plan where we know we are seeding every 2 weeks and then planting 300 bed feet of lettuce every 2 weeks. So we've learned how that works. Lettuce doesn't weigh very much, so we are growing a ton of lettuce. So when you recognize that 10,000 pounds, that is a lot of food. And then we do other seasonal produce that can easily go on the salad bar or in a side. Like cucumbers are online. We're all set for students to come back in August with our lettuce, carrots, and cucumber. Also during the year, we're growing broccoli, we're growing beets, we're growing snap peas. We're trialing cherry tomatoes this year because there's no prep for the kitchen. We just have to make sure we have the labor to do it. And I think my favorite part of our 10,000 pounds that go to the central kitchen is our large harvest of paste tomatoes in the summer. We obviously don't have students during the summer months, so we trail off our 6 sessions of lettuce and carrots. So they end at the end of June, and then we're planting to make sure they're fired up when students return mid-August. But in the summertime, we are farming year round. We try to grow 5,000 plus pounds of organic paste tomatoes that the central kitchen roasts and freezes, and they use in scratch-made pizza and pasta sauce all year.
Oh, that's so cool.
So that's a pretty exciting part of our farm to school program.
That's amazing.
So that's great. The 10,000 and up and plus at the low amount 10,000, that's going out to all your kids. How many kids are we talking about? How many schools in your district are you feeding from that?
So we're just under 5,000 students, and they are all housed at 9 school sites. So we're serving 9 schools all year.
This is so in the weeds, but just
get it? Weeds?
Yes.
It's a school garden episode.
We're counting farm puns, folks. We're counting farm puns.
We're counting farm puns. So logistically, how do you get the produce to the school sites? Because transportation and distribution is often really one of the barriers to farm to school.
Well, luckily, we are located in the middle of all 9 of our school sites. And because we have a central kitchen, school breakfast and lunch has to be delivered to the school sites daily. So we harvest twice a week. We harvest on Tuesdays and Fridays and have community volunteer opportunities. We are actually dependent on volunteers. And I will tell you, the community loves to come and harvest food when they know where it's going. So we harvest every Tuesday and Friday morning. It's washed and packed right on site. And when I say packed, it is just right into crates that go into our cold storage that was purchased with a grant. And the driver, once he's finished delivering lunch, one driver comes to the farm and picks up the harvest, and it travels less than 3 miles to the central kitchen and then is put in their cold storage for use. So we're minimizing the district's footprint in many ways with very limited packaging, almost no transportation of this produce. It's a pretty incredible program.
This is amazing. So that's one part. And I know we could dig into that one more. But and that's the production part. But then there's a second part to Farm Lab, right? Dreams.
There is. We have the Satellite Sustainability Campus, which we have titled Dream. So that same former superintendent who kind of ideated the whole program, he had created a different acronym for STEM or STREAM, and he made his Dreams because he felt R&D was a key piece of any real-world project-based learning, and design thinking was critical. So Dreams stands for design, research, engineering, art, math, and science.
Oh, how cool.
So so all students come out annually, and it's not a farm field trip. Like, people assume they're coming out to Farm Lab, so of course they're just like hanging out on the farm. It's actually robust project and place-based science education that is grounded in next generation science standards, the UN sustainability goals, and our California environmental principles and concepts. We're literally taking a standard off teachers' plates that is sustainability based, and we use the farm as a teaching tool to model an integration of indoor and outdoor education and project and place-based learning. So I'll give you an example. So the students are on the farm, each grade level, and of course we want to build that awareness of food systems, and we want them to know where their food grows, because as we all know, that encourages students to try new foods, eat healthier foods, and they tour the farm each year with a different lens. Like our kindergarten unit, and they come in the fall, and it's really exciting because our pumpkin patch is almost ready. We do seed to compost with pumpkins with our kindergartners. So they come out, and this is their first exposure to, hey, this is where the produce on your salad bars are from. They get to go into the pumpkin patch, choose a pumpkin, and they're also learning about composting and sorting waste, which all of our school sites do waste diversion and composting on site. And we hear, like, why don't you have them doing farming and doing gardening? It's because they only come once a year to Farm Lab, because we're serving 5,000 students, and each school site, we're so fortunate, have robust garden programs. So when they're coming to Farm Lab, they're looking at agriculture through a different lens depending on their units. And I'll go way away from that to our 5th grade unit is Water-Wise Dreams. So students are learning about the importance of conservation, reclamation, and reuse of water. We are a drought-prone state. So they're looking, when they're on the farm, at all the ways we're water-wise at Farm Lab, the use of drip irrigation, the use of rain catchment, bioswales, and how we've planted native gardens everywhere to kind of bring in pollinators, but then they can also talk about how that's so different than if we planted a lawn.
Wow.
So they are looking at the farm through a different lens each year, depending on what the content is. And then as far as bringing that R&D and engineering in, so 5th grade, the day 3, and I mean, they've done circuits to understand what that's actually 4th grade. So many things, water table, looking at reclaimed water under microscopes to understand the need for filtration. Just so many different components. And at the end, they just learn that if all of our conservation and reclamation work isn't enough in coastal Southern California, our plan B is the ocean. So on day 3, they engineer and build functioning desalinators. Is how that looks. So we're modeling that kind of education for all the visiting teachers and providing project-based opportunities for students that are almost too labor intensive for a classroom teacher to do on their own. Could they? Yes, absolutely. But is it likely that they'll have the time and resources to do so? No. So we are trying to provide that for all of the teachers in the district and all of the students across the grades.
Yeah, for the people in the other parts of the country that aren't in the West, it's important to note that the water comes from Colorado River, and it feeds 7 states, including all of Southern California, where all of the breadbasket of the nation that feeds a good portion of the world, and that water is a finite supply.
And all of the lessons have those deep understandings about our resources are scarce, and they won't last forever if we're not being mindful. I mean, really the whole idea behind the whole Dreams Campus is providing students with those real world hands-on opportunities to learn that their actions have an impact and that they truly can make a difference by making different choices.
The people that want to see what your operation looks like, I'll leave a link in the notes page of a video of your place. And let me tell you, if you wanted to think, how can I design the ultimate, most beautiful school garden with art everywhere, and the Dreams Campus piece with a wonderful state-of-the-art kitchen that's integrated with farm lab and everything. I mean, it is such a beautiful operation. I'm very jealous. And when I was looking at it, it's such a neat looking thing.
I'm glad you mentioned the kitchen space, because we have our main campus, which is the 4 classroom that kids are going to. So I have 3 educators. We had a complaint of we only get to come once a year. And so what we did is we built out 2 extra spaces, and they are the dill and rosemary room, because they're meant to be the research and design spaces. All of our classrooms have vegetables, or our herb wing is our R&D space. And the design space is the nutrition science lab that has commercial grade equipment, but also all of the materials for 5 groups of students to do anything that is farm to table. Any teacher in our district can sign up to use those spaces. And we have a few champions. We have a kindergarten teacher that comes up and hosts a pop-up restaurant out of that space with her 6th grade buddies. Wow. As her students are learning about roles and how the community works together, they ideate a whole restaurant concept. And when they come, they set it up. They have hosts, they have cashiers, they have servers, they have the little chefs putting things together. We make sure it's a pretty simple menu that they can just put it all together, but they're serving, and they set up the restaurant on the upper deck. It's just incredible. There's incredible opportunity there for all kinds of project-based learning. And in my research room, it's kind of robotics research. There's a whole film set up with a green screen. I'm hoping to do a Straight from the Farm sustainability podcast run by kids someday out of that room. And there are robotics and high-powered microscopes if teachers want to come out and test different parts of the soil. We're barely scratching the surface on what we're offering. So it's exciting that we do have those bonus spaces that teachers can be champions and take advantage of the site for their own learning experiences as well.
And as you're talking, I'm just in awe again, and thinking, we have so many gardens that are limping along, or, call it the 3-year love bubble, where there's a lot of excitement and people all come in and they build a garden and it gets going, and then boom. And then 2 years later, we're doing it again.
Or even more than that, I'm a parent and I want to start something, and looking at your program, how do I get to where you are? Like, how do you start even?
Or how do you make this? How in the world did you make this work?
So it was definitely one step at a time. It's taken 10 years to see what you see, and there were a lot of missteps. But one thing is for sure, you definitely need vision. You definitely need champions. But if you don't have a school district that from the top down is supporting this work and literally willing to put their money where their mouth is, you're not going to be able to have something sustainable that continues to evolve into these really incredible programs. So early on, we needed to have a grant, we needed buy-in, but as everything rolled out and we figured out what our baseline is as far as an education team and a farming staff, we are part of the general budget. If I want to do above and beyond and expand and have, like cold storage, we wanted cold storage so we didn't have to hustle to the central kitchen. That was a grant. But as far as baseline operational costs and labor, we are a budget line item. So if you want anything to be sustainable, there has to be funding from the top down in your district. That is why I think we've been so successful, and we are able to continue to evolve. And as the space has evolved, it's been incredible. We leased an acre of land to the city. There's a community garden on site. We have these sprawling native gardens and created a courtyard space. And the site has evolved into a just beautiful space, let alone being a campus and a farm. And people want to host workshops there and come use the space. So I Love a Clean San Diego hosts an annual sustainability fair at our site. We have environmental film companies that come and use our site to play their environmental film. So we've become this community hub. None of that would be possible if the district wasn't funding the baseline of our site. So I think that is truly the key. There is a second piece, though, that this programming and all of this would not be possible without key partnerships. So I would love to be able to share a bit about those key partnerships that make this work.
Please.
All right. So one is transportation, because I will tell you, if teachers had to get drivers, I'm going to pause. Most states have school buses. Southern California, we don't really have school buses. Our district parents have to drive their kids to school.
Really?
We don't have buses for field trips, nothing. So
Good
if they're busing kids, say, to
clarification.
6th grade camp, it's important because for a lot of people, this would be a point, but like for 6th grade camp, it's, I think, $600 a day to rent a bus that holds 60 students. And we're bringing 65 to 100 students a day, depending on the size of the school, because what we do is host one grade level from one school site each day. Some of those grade levels come for multiple days in a row, but that we need to bus a lot of students every day. That would have been cost prohibitive, because if you require teachers to get parent drivers, you can't require that they come. And this is part of a comprehensive science curriculum in Encinitas. All teachers are required to come. Now they're thrilled to come and excited, and they fight for spots and dates.
That's awesome.
But, it wasn't always that way. But having busing was the key piece. So the YMCA offers before and after school care in our district, and they, bus students to their school sites before school to get them all set. Well, their buses sat vacant all day. So we talked to them, and they wanted to expand their after school programming, but didn't have any space. Well, I had 4 classrooms. So in exchange for the use of our 4 classrooms after school, they bus all 5,000 students.
This is brilliant.
To their learning engagements at no cost to us. So it's just an MOU, no money is exchanged. And now we've been able to expand after school care offerings for families because we provided the YMCA additional space and we had our transportation needs met. And bonus, when those bonus spaces were built that I shared about that teachers can sign up to come use, if their learning engagement is 2.25 hours or less, we can provide busing for them, because one of the YMCA buses will go and pick up an additional class and bring them back to the site for their own learning engagement. So that transportation partnership is key to making this sustainable and an integral part of science instruction for our district. So that's one, and that's the education side. And the other is, folks, I'll tell you what, we are educators, not farmers. So kind of going back to farming, as I rolled in, we partnered with, because I'm an educator, and I'll give you a little background on me in a second, but we had been dabbling, we weren't having great success with consistency on the farm. So we found a nonprofit organization that was their forte, and we partnered. And in exchange for supporting us with the infrastructure build out and the design of the farming part of our property, they were using the acreage we didn't need to meet our minimums for farm to school for themselves to sell up at their farmers market. Well, shortly after we partnered, they assumed their own farm, but still stuck with us and made sure that we got all of our infrastructure built out, got our systems going, and then the partnership slowly dissolved. And I've been independently managing the farm now for 3 years. But again, I am an educator, administrator, instructional leader, not a farmer. So we have leased the 1.1 acre certified land that we don't need to meet our farm to school minimums to an organic flower and herb farm, the owner of which used to be a lead farmer for that nonprofit. So we have a lease agreement with them for that property, and I have a consultant agreement up into the amount of their lease in which they will support my farm team and empower my farm team when they need collaboration or troubleshooting. They support us with our monthly crop planning meetings to make sure we have a really comprehensive view of what's happening and don't misstep. So it's magical. My farm team has support. We are having many, many pollinators attracted to our site, and they're beautifying space. So it's just a win-win-win. And having them on site has made this manageable for someone who isn't a farmer to successfully manage a regenerative organic production farm. So that partnership is key. And having consulting is key if you're a school district and not, super versed in farming. That consultant piece has been a game changer, and having them on site is just the most beautiful reciprocal partnership I could imagine.
Well, thanks for sharing that. Thanks for listing your partners, Julie. And wow, I'd love to jump down there and visit, wish you were closer. So Julie, thank you for that. It sounded very good. Is there anything else you'd like to tell us before we leave for the day?
I feel like this work matters more than anything that we're doing in education. It really does. As we're building awareness of food systems and increasing the health and wellness of our students, we are also mitigating climate change by how we're growing food for student lunches.
Okay, how so?
So regenerative ag, it's obviously any organic, you're not putting pesticides on your food. Regenerative organic principles like no-till, use of cover crop rotation, really building biodiversity. It builds the soil and leaves it better than you started, and it allows it to sequester far higher levels of carbon than traditional farming methods. So we're literally able to offset our district's carbon footprint by the way we're growing school lunch.
That's extraordinary.
So how we're growing matters just as much as what we're growing.
And with that, Julie Burton, I feel that we are better off having spent this time with you on the podcast, and really just appreciate you and all your partners and consultants and folks doing great work in the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy to share.
And thanks everybody for tuning in today.
Farm to School was written, directed, and produced by Rick Sherman and Michelle Markiston, with production support from Leanne Locker of Oregon State University. This podcast was made possible by a grant from the United States Department of Agriculture.
The content and ideas of the Farm to School podcast does not necessarily reflect the opinions of Oregon State University, Oregon Department of Education, and the United States Department of Agriculture. The USDA, Oregon Department of Education, and Oregon State University are equal opportunity providers and employers.
Do you want to learn more about Farm to School? Check out other episodes, show notes, and our contact information by Googling Farm to School Podcast OSU.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Please stop by Michelle's website that she just said and drop us a line, or give us an idea for a future podcast.
We'd love to. And thanks again, Julie, for connecting and sharing your story.
You are so welcome. It was great to be here.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.